3.5 decades after reunification, a line runs through Germany. This is the line where the Iron Curtain once stood. Instead of barbed wires and dogs, this line now divides Germans along metrics like unemployment, income, and increasingly the tendency to vote for extremist political parties. If East Germany was still an independent country, the Alternative for Germany, or AfD, which has been linked to neo-Nazis and is being monitored by German domestic intelligence, would have secured a convincing electoral victory in the elections on Sunday in Germany, with nearly 1 in 3 voters in East Germany casting ballots for the AfD. Only 2 of 48 voting districts outside of Berlin in the former East Germany were not won by the AfD. In a handful of districts in the eastern part of Germany, the AfD got nearly 50% of the vote. That division and the sense that Germans still, to some degree, inhabit two separate worlds, East Germany and West Germany, has become a persistent feature of the voting habits of Germans. It is one that was seen not only on the elections of Sunday, but also in the recently concluded elections for the European Parliament last June. The divide, analysts say, reflects not only a failure to fully integrate the eastern part of Germany, but also the unique problems and culture of East Germany, which was shaped by nearly 4 decades of communist rule during the Cold War and close alignment with Moscow and the erstwhile Soviet Union. One important aspect of this is that many East Germans have never really connected emotionally or mentally with West German democracy, said Benjamin Hohn, a political scientist who studies Eastern Germany. On top of that, many of the metrics where Eastern Germany still lags behind the western part of Germany are the very factors that make voters more likely to vote for political parties from the far right like the AfD, Mr. Hohn said. The AfD reportedly also has close links to Moscow. On Sunday, only 42% of Germans in the East voted for traditional West German political parties, including Social Democrats and Christian Democrats, the two political parties which are likely to form the incoming governing coalition which will form the government in Germany. The rest voted either for the AfD, Die Linke. Die Linke itself is a successor of the old Socialist Party that ran the eastern part of Germany for nearly 40 years, and a small splinter party run by a former communist. I am talking about German politics because some people living in Germany talk about Indian politics, so why can I not talk about German politics? And just for full disclosure, this is from a media report published in a prominent American newspaper. The old Western parties were never that well established in East Germany, said Matthias Quent, who is a sociology professor who has spent years studying the extreme right. In the former East Germany, the AfD is increasingly visible. Many members are active in civil society, including several mayors, which means even people who do not actually vote for the AfD come in regular contact with the AfD, Professor Quent said. East Germany simply works differently and has not become more like the rest of Germany either, Professor Quent continued to add. Given that East Germans were not allowed to vote freely in elections for almost 40 years, it is perhaps unsurprising that they do not feel the same attachment to Western political parties, experts say. Another very important point here is parties called the Christian Democrats, Social Democrats or Liberal Democrats, like those in the western part of Germany, existed in the erstwhile East Germany, but were not actual opposition parties because they were controlled by the communist regime. This is a narrative that allows the AfD to claim that it is the only real alternative to mainstream politics. The result on Sunday was not a surprise to anyone who has been following German politics for the last few years. The vote tally in the East mirrored state elections in 3 eastern races in September. In Thuringia, where Björn Höcke, who has been fined by a court for recycling Nazi language, runs the party, and in Thuringia 33% voted for the AfD in September. The mainstream Christian Democrats came in a distant second place with about 24% of the vote. However, When you compare Germany with neighboring European countries, the more unusual part of Germany is maybe the western part, not the eastern part. Why is this the case? Because by European standards, the party landscape in eastern Germany is more the norm, while western Germany, with its still relatively stable mainstream political parties, is actually the exception. This is what Professor Hohn said. It is a problem not lost on mainstream politicians in Berlin, who see their support eroding in the east and worry that it could be a harbinger of what is to come in the whole of Germany. Friedrich Merz, the presumptive future chancellor of a centre-right government, acknowledged the severity of the lopsidedness of German voting habits when he spoke to reporters a day after winning the national vote. We are extremely concerned about what is happening in the East, Mr. Merz said. What are his plans? To bolster the fortunes of mainstream political parties, Mr. Merz plans to address problems both with irregular migration, which understandably has been the AfD's favorite issue, and with economics, as Germany struggles to improve its competitiveness. He went on to add, we have to work together to solve the problems in Germany, to gradually deprive this party of its fertile ground. Which party? Of course, he was referring to the AfD. Mr. Merz would be the first Christian Democratic Chancellor since Angela Merkel in Germany. Angela Merkel was the first and so far the only German Chancellor to have been raised in East Germany. A very important point that one needs to remember if one wants to understand German politics is that while the two parts of Germany have become more integrated since the fall of the Berlin Wall, high-level politics has not. Of the 17 government ministers in the departing cabinet of Chancellor Olaf Scholz, 2 were born in East Germany, and there might be even fewer in the incoming cabinet of Mr. Friedrich Merz.